Hey guys, my name's Ines. I write kissing books, and here's chapter 3 of the Valkyrie's Claim. Reagan tossed the trash inside the door. The male bodies inside backed up and stepped aside to make way for the newest bit of refuse. Joey the whale slipped on his bloodied feet and tumbled down on his bare ass. "Please," he said to Reagan, "I'll pay you whatever you want." "With what?" she said. "All you have left in this world that belongs to you is your seed, and no one here has any interest in that." Joey looked down at his shriveled manhood. The limp member didn't look as though it would give any essence any time soon, especially not when he was surrounded by thousands of other males. The latest addition to Valhalla looked up at his cellmates. The first to make his way over was a greasy, black-haired, mustached man, followed by a similarly colored man, but only a foot shorter. Their names were Napoleon Bonaparte and Adolf Hitler. Leon and Dolph always liked to call dibs on any pale-skinned man that entered the doors of hell. But it looked like they'd have a fight on their hands. Genghis Khan had his beady eyes on Joey, too. It would be a bloody battle. Reagan shut and locked the door. After the snick of the gear, the screams died down until they were less than a whisper. Walking away from the massive doorway, she loosened her breastplates. The armor came away, leaving her breasts feeling both tender and heavy. Her nipples had swollen to sharp points during the heat of the battle to retrieve her quarry, and they hadn't softened since. She pulled off her leg coverings. For some reason, her thighs were unsteady. They even shook a bit, like a newborn fowl's. And then there was her head. The sensation she felt wasn't the throbbing ache of a megrim. Something pulsed at the forefront of her brain. But when she closed her eyes to try and relieve some of the pressure, all she saw was him. Draco's thrusting hips, his clenching buttocks, the muscles of his back moving and reshaping under the power of his movements. But he wasn't thrusting into the core of a fairy any longer. Gone were the willowy limbs of a fae. In their place were creamy white thighs, a thatch of golden fuzz mingling with the dark of Draco's groin. His fingers were there on that golden core, brushing aside the light curls and finding a swollen pink nub. In her mind's eye, Reagan threw her head back and let out a hoarse cry. In reality, she reached for the wall. It wasn't sturdy enough to hold her up. What she needed, what she craved, was to dig her nails into the strong chest of a dragon shifter. "How was the hunt, sister?" Reagan straightened and turned. Her sister Siggy walked up the hall. Siggy's pale white hair was loose around her golden shoulders. Her bright eyes were full of mischief, as usual. There was a hint of sympathy as they trained on Reagan. "That bad?" Siggy turned her around. "You don't look bloody." "I'm not," said Reagan. "It wasn't. Everything went fine. I'm just overheated is all." "But your eyes are glazed, your tits are tight, and your skin is flushed." Siggy lifted an eyebrow. "If I didn't know any better, I'd say you looked aroused." Siggy started chuckling at the unlikely notion of Reagan's arousal. But the thing about laughing at someone else's expense was that an inhalation was necessary to get the sound of mirth out of the throat. That deep breath, coupled with what Siggy saw with her own eyes, must have solidified the conclusion. "You little slut!" Had that slur come from any of her other sisters, it would be a bad thing. A very bad thing. Valkyrie were the immaculate creation of the goddess, crafted with the distilled essence of their ethereal father, incubated in the thigh of their mother, because she had better things to do with her toned belly. And cut out of her calf because the hell would she push out a being from her vagina like an animal. The point being, the daughters of the goddess were purebred, unvarnished, unsoiled, and unsullied creations. They did not think about, pine for, nor do coitus, except Siggy. "Who?" Siggy demanded, her golden eyes glowing supernova bright. "Who popped your cherry? Was it Thor? Loki?" Reagan winced at the names of the male gods of the realm. She didn't fail to note that her sister didn't bother naming any of the creatures a peg down from the gods, like the wolves, or the bears, or the lions, or dragons. But both Thor and Loki are in Jotunheim battling frost giants. Siggy looked from her sister and the great door to Valhalla, then back to her sister. Her nose wrinkled. Did you do it with a human? Ew, Siggy! Regan had to swallow hard to keep the bile in her stomach. But at least her nipples relaxed at the gross inquiry. Siggy threw her hands. No judgment here, sis. You know what they say about the bad guys. Regan did not want to know what they said about bad guys. She would never let a human anywhere near her private pink spots. The mere thought was disgusting. Listen, honey, you do what and who you want on your time, said Siggy. Just don't let Hilda find out. You know how she is. Regan did know how her eldest sister was. Hilda had a thing for Thor since the two were made conscious. Thor considered Hilda the best warrior he knew, aside from himself. He considered her the smartest battle strategist beside himself. He even considered her the best of friends. But that was it. It was clear he harbored no other emotion for the firstborn of the Valkyrie. Thor had no clue that Hilda harbored any feelings for him. And since she couldn't get what she wanted from the god she wanted, Hilda had long ago cockblocked all her other sisters from having a taste of any male species. Whoever he is, he's clearly on your mind, Siggy was saying. Just go diddle him and be done. An orgasm can be very centering. Diddle him and be done? Could it really be that simple? Could she simply scratch this itch the one time and not think about it again? Find out what happens next in chapter 12. Chapter 4, whichever chapter we're on.